My name is Soap. I am 35 years old and I kill the dead for money. Let that sink in for a moment. Not the living. Not animals, the dead. The ones who refuse to stay buried. The ones who claw their way back up through 6 feet of dirt just to taste human flesh one more time. I am the man people call when their nightmares start walking in broad daylight. I want you to picture something. Close your eyes for a second and imagine waking up tomorrow morning to find that everything you know is gone. Your phone does not work. The lights do not turn on. The water does not run. You look outside and see your neighbor, the one who always waved at you, stumbling down the street with half his face missing. That is my reality. That has been my reality for 6 years now. Before all of this, I was a firefighter, Station 17 in Great Falls, Montana. I spent 12 years running into burning buildings while everyone else ran out. I saved lives. I pulled kids from smoke-filled rooms. I carried unconscious men down ladders while the roof collapsed behind me. I cut people out of twisted metal car wrecks on frozen highways. I performed CPR on grandmothers while their families watched and prayed. People called me a hero back then. They shook my hand at the grocery store. They bought me coffee at diners. Little kids would point at me and tell their parents they wanted to be just like me when they grew up. I wore my uniform with pride. I believed I was making a difference. That world is gone now. Burned to ash and bone, buried under a mountain of corpses and broken dreams. The outbreak started in the winter of 2019, December to be exact. At first it was just rumors. Whispers on the internet. Strange sickness spreading through the northern states. People collapsing in the streets. Hospitals filling up faster than they could handle. The news barely covered it. A few scattered reports here and there. Nothing concrete. Nothing alarming. Just another flu season, they said. Nothing to worry about, but there was something to worry about. Something very wrong. By January, the report stopped altogether. The government went silent. No press conferences. No official statements. Just silence. And that silence was louder than any alarm, because the government does not go silent unless they have lost control, unless they have no answers, unless they are terrified. By February, we started seeing it firsthand. People showing up at the hospital with symptoms that did not make sense, high fevers that would not break, violent seizures, uncontrollable aggression, and then death. But death was not the end. It was just the beginning. The dead were coming back. Not slowly, not peacefully. They were coming back angry, hungry, violent. They were tearing through hospital wards like wild animals. Doctors and nurses were being attacked, bitten, infected. The whole system collapsed in a matter of days. By March, the dead were walking the streets. Not stumbling, not moaning like in the old movies. They were running, screaming, tearing through neighborhoods like wildfire. Police could not stop them. The military could not contain them. It spread too fast, too chaotic. Within weeks, the entire country had fallen into chaos. I watched my own firehouse fall in less than an hour. We had barricaded ourselves inside thinking we could wait it out. Thinking help would come. It never did. My captain, a man named Douglas McKinney, a man I had known for over a decade, a man who taught me everything I knew about being a firefighter, turned right in front of me. 1 minute he was coughing blood into a towel. The next his eyes rolled back and he collapsed. We thought he was dead. We covered him with a blanket and said a prayer. 10 minutes later he sat up. His eyes were white, clouded, empty. He looked at me, opened his mouth and let out a sound I will never forget. It was not human. It was a screech, a wail, pure rage and hunger. He lunged at me. I barely had time to react. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a fire axe hanging on the wall, and I swung. The blade caught him in the side of the head. He dropped, but he did not stop moving. He kept reaching for me, clawing at the air. I hit him again, and again. 3 swings before he finally stopped. I stood there, covered in his blood, shaking, trying to understand what had just happened. The others were screaming, panicking, and then I heard it. More of them. Pounding on the doors, breaking through the windows. The infection had spread through the neighborhood. We were surrounded. I ran. I am not ashamed to admit it. I dropped the axe, grabbed my pack, and I ran out the back exit. I did not look back. I did not stop. I just ran until my lungs were burning and my legs gave out. I found shelter in an old logging warehouse on the outskirts of town, a place called Pine Haven, a small forgotten town tucked into the mountains. Population 300. Maybe less now, there were others there when I arrived. Survivors, scared, hungry, desperate. We tried to rebuild. We tried to create some kind of order, some kind of normalcy. But order does not exist anymore. Not out here. Not in this world. Out here, there are only two kinds of people. The ones who adapt and the ones who die. I adapted. I learned how to hunt the dead. How to track them. How to kill them efficiently. How to survive in a world where every corner could be your last. I became a contractor. A scavenger, a hunter. People needed supplies, medicine, food, weapons, tools. Someone had to go out and get it. Someone had to risk their life walking through the ruins of the old world. That someone was me. I have been doing this for 6 years now. 6 long, bloody, exhausting years. I have seen things that would make grown men weep. I have done things I will never speak about. Things that haunt me in the quiet moments. Things that wake me up at night covered in sweat. But I am still here. Still breathing. Still surviving. And that counts for something. I have learned a lot in these 6 years. I have learned that hope is dangerous. That trust is a luxury. That mercy will get you killed. But most importantly, I have learned 4 rules. 4 simple rules that have kept me alive when so many others have fallen. These are not theories. They are not guesses. They are lessons written in blood, my blood. The blood of people I cared about. The blood of strangers I tried to save. I am going to share them with you now. Not because I am generous. Not because I care about you personally. But because if you are listening to this, you might be in the same hell I am. You might be scared. You might be alone. You might be wondering how you are going to survive one more day, and maybe, just maybe, these rules will give you a fighting chance. Before I get into the rules, let me tell you something important. If you are new to this world, if you are still clinging to hope that things will go back to normal, that the government will swoop in and save the day, that scientists will find a cure and everything will be fine, let it go. Let that hope die, because it will kill you faster than any zombie ever could. The old world is dead. We are living in the aftermath. The ruins. The leftovers. And the sooner you accept that, the better your chances of survival. Now pay close attention. These rules are not suggestions. They are not guidelines. They are survival. Break them and you will end up just like the thousands of corpses rotting in the streets. Follow them, and you might live to see another sunrise. Let us begin. Rule number 1. Never sleep on the ground floor. This is the first rule. The most important rule. The rule that separates the living from the dead. Never ever under any circumstances sleep on the ground floor. I know what you are thinking. But Soap, what if the building is secure? What if the doors are locked? What if I board up the windows and barricade the entrance? It does not matter. It will never matter. Because zombies do not care about locks. They do not care about boards or barricades or steel doors. They will smash through glass. They will claw through wood. They will tear down doors with their bare hands if they smell fresh meat on the other side. And trust me, you smell like fresh meat. Ground floors are death traps. They are the easiest entry point for the infected. They can hear you breathing. They can smell the sweat on your skin. They can sense the warmth of your body. And if they want you badly enough, they will find a way in. I have seen it happen too many times. Good people, smart people, people who thought they were safe because they had a sturdy door and a loaded shotgun. They went to sleep on the ground floor. They never woke up. I learned this rule the hard way. It was my 2nd month as a scavenger. Early days. I was cocky, stupid. I thought I had it all figured out. I had survived the initial outbreak. I had killed infected before. I had a rifle, a knife, and enough canned food to last me a week. I felt invincible. I had just cleared a small pharmacy on the eastern edge of Pine Haven. The place had been picked over pretty thoroughly, but I managed to find some antibiotics, a bottle of painkillers, and a box of bandages. Not a great haul, but enough to trade for a hot meal and a warm bed back in town. I was tired. The sun was setting. It was getting dark. I made a decision. I decided to camp inside the pharmacy for the night. The front door was solid steel. The windows were barred. It looked secure. I thought I was safe. I set up my sleeping bag behind the front counter. I ate a can of cold beans with my fingers. I checked my rifle, made sure it was loaded, made sure the safety was off. Everything seemed fine. I even allowed myself to relax a little. I closed my eyes. I thought about the life I used to have. My apartment, my girlfriend, my friends. My routine. All gone now. Just memories. Ghosts of a world that no longer existed. I must have dozed off around 8 o'clock in the evening. I woke up to the sound of scraping, slow, deliberate, metal on metal. Like fingernails dragging across a chalkboard. My eyes snapped open. My heart was pounding. I sat up and listened. The sound was coming from the back of the building, from the rear entrance. The door I had not bothered to check because it was locked from the inside. I grabbed my rifle and moved toward the sound as quietly as I could. My hands were shaking. My breath was coming in short gasps. I could hear my pulse in my ears. The scraping continued. Then I heard something else. A low growl, then another, then another. That is when I heard the door buckle. The metal groaned. Once, twice. Then it exploded inward with a crash that shook the entire building. The lock had given way. The hinges had torn out of the frame, and they poured in like water, 6 of them, maybe more. I did not stop to count. I just fired. The first shot hit one in the chest. It stumbled but kept coming. The second shot caught another in the head. It dropped. But they kept coming, fast, snarling, reaching for me with blackened fingers. I turned and ran for the front door. But 2 more had already broken through the barred window. Glass was everywhere. Blood smeared across the floor. One of them grabbed my jacket. I twisted away, felt the fabric tear, and barely made it out the door. I ran into the street. They followed. I could hear them behind me. Their footsteps. Their breathing. I ran for 3 blocks before I found a gas station with a ladder leading up to the roof. I climbed. My lungs were burning. My arms felt like they were going to give out. I made it to the top and collapsed. I spent the rest of that night on the roof, shivering in the cold, watching them circle below like sharks. There must have been a dozen of them down there. They knew I was up there. They could smell me, but they could not reach me. They tried to climb the ladder a few times, but their coordination was terrible. They kept slipping, falling. Eventually, they gave up and just stood there staring up at me with those dead, empty eyes. That is when I understood. Height equals safety. Zombies can push through doors. They can break windows. They can tear down walls if they are motivated enough. But they cannot climb. Not well anyway. Their motor skills are deteriorated. Their balance is shot. Their hands do not grip properly. A ladder is an obstacle they cannot overcome. Stairs slow them down significantly. And if you are high enough, if you are out of reach, they will lose interest and wander off eventually. Since that night, I have never slept on the ground floor. Not once, not even when I was exhausted. Not even when it seemed safe. Now, I always find a second story, an attic, a rooftop, a water tower, anything with elevation. I have slept in some strange places over the years. I have slept on top of shipping containers in abandoned lots. I have slept in the cabs of semi-trucks parked in the middle of empty fields. I have slept in trees when I had no other option. It is uncomfortable, it is cold. Sometimes it is dangerous in its own way, but it is safer than sleeping on the ground. Let me tell you about a place I found once. It was about 8 months after the outbreak. I was on a long-range scavenging mission, looking for a rumored stash of medical supplies in a town called Harlow Creek. Small place, about 40 miles west of Pine Haven. The trip took me 3 days on foot. When I arrived, the town was a graveyard. Buildings collapsed, cars overturned, bodies everywhere, but there was one building still standing. A small farmhouse on the edge of town. 2 stories, white paint peeling off the siding. Front porch sagging under its own weight, but intact, structurally sound. I approached carefully, checked the perimeter, listened for movement, nothing, no sound. No signs of life, or unlife. I went inside. The ground floor was a mess. Furniture overturned, blood on the walls, broken dishes scattered across the kitchen floor. Typical post-outbreak scene. But when I climbed the stairs to the second floor, everything changed. It was untouched, clean, organized. 2 bedrooms with the beds still made. A bathroom with a working sink, probably fed by a rainwater collection tank on the roof. There were even candles on the nightstand. Matches in a drawer. I could not believe my luck. I set up camp in the smaller bedroom. I dragged a heavy dresser to the top of the staircase and wedged it in place as a barricade. I set up noise traps, empty cans tied to string across the stairs so I would hear if anything tried to climb up during the night. Then I laid out my sleeping bag, ate a cold meal of jerky and crackers, and actually relaxed for the first time in weeks. Nothing bothered me that night. Not a single zombie, not a single scare. I slept deeply, dreamlessly. When I woke up the next morning, the sun was shining through the window. Birds were chirping outside. For a brief moment, I forgot where I was. I forgot what the world had become. It felt normal, peaceful. That farmhouse is still there as far as I know. Still standing, still safe, because I followed the rule. Now some of you might be thinking, what if I am on the run? What if I do not have time to find a second floor? What if I am in the middle of nowhere with no buildings around? Then you get creative. You improvise. You adapt. I have seen people survive by sleeping in the beds of pickup trucks with the tailgate up. I have seen people sleep on top of dumpsters behind restaurants. I have seen people sleep inside industrial freezers with the doors propped open for ventilation. I once met a man who survived for 2 weeks by sleeping in a deer stand in the middle of the forest. The infected walked right past him every night. They never looked up. Use your head. Think vertically. Get off the ground. Make yourself unreachable. That is the key. I know a woman named Carla. She runs a trading post in Pine Haven. Tough as nails. Been through hell and back. She once told me a story about how she survived 3 weeks trapped in a hardware store during the early days of the outbreak. The store was surrounded. Dozens of infected outside. No way out. No help coming, so what did she do? She climbed. She spent every night sleeping on top of the industrial shelving units. 20 feet up. Surrounded by hammers, nails, bags of concrete, and rolls of chicken wire, the infected could see her up there. They could hear her moving around, but they could not reach her. She would throw things down at them occasionally just to see their reactions. They would scramble after the objects like dogs chasing a ball, but they never figured out how to climb. She survived. She waited them out. Eventually, they wandered off in search of easier prey. She climbed down, restocked her supplies, and walked out of there like nothing had happened. That is adaptation. That is intelligence. That is survival. Before we move on to the next rule, I want to take a moment to say something. If you are enjoying this story, if you are finding this information useful, if you think this might help someone you know, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. You never know who might be out there right now, alone, scared, trying to figure out how to survive just like you. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and in a world like ours, that matters more than you know. All right, let us move on to the second rule. Rule number 2. Check the eyes before you shoot. This rule has saved more lives than I can count. It has also haunted me more than any other rule I follow. Here is the thing about the infection. It does not turn you instantly. It is not like flipping a light switch. It is a process. A slow, agonizing, terrifying process that can take anywhere from 6 to 12 hours depending on how you were infected. A bite, 6 hours, maybe less. A scratch from infected fingernails, 8 to 10 hours. Airborne exposure from a fresh corpse, even longer. Sometimes up to 24 hours. During those first few hours after infection, the person looks human. They act human. They talk, they cry. They beg for help. They tell you they are fine. They promise they are not infected. And that is the trap. Because if you do not know what to look for, you will waste precious time trying to save them. Or worse, you will let them get close enough to infect you too. And once they turn, once that switch finally flips, you are done. The eyes are the key. Always check the eyes. When someone first gets infected, their eyes are still clear. Normal. You can see the fear in them, the confusion, the pain. They know something is wrong, but they do not know what. They might have a fever. They might be coughing blood. They might be shaking uncontrollably. But their eyes are still human, still alive. Then the change begins. It starts with a faint cloudiness, like someone poured a thin layer of milk over the iris. It spreads slowly at first, creeping across the white of the eye like frost on a window. The pupils dilate. The color fades. The spark of humanity dims. Within hours, the entire eye turns a dull, milky white. Sometimes it is yellowish. Sometimes it is gray with streaks of red. But it is never clear. Never normal. Never human. Once you see that fog, it is over. They are gone. They might still be talking. They might still be crying and begging and pleading for you to help them. But they are not human anymore. They are infected. And in a few minutes, maybe an hour if they are strong, they will turn. And when they do, they will kill anyone close to them. No hesitation, no mercy, just hunger. I check the eyes of everyone I meet. Every single person. It does not matter if they seem fine. It does not matter if they seem friendly or scared or harmless. I look them directly in the eye and I look for the fog. If I see it, I walk away. If they follow me, if they keep approaching me, I put them down. No hesitation, no regret. Because hesitation kills. I learned this rule from a man named Dr. Marcus Porter. He was a physician before the outbreak. A good man, compassionate, intelligent. He had spent his entire career saving lives. When the outbreak happened, he could not just stop being a doctor. He could not turn away from people who needed help. So he set up a makeshift clinic in the basement of an old church on the outskirts of Pine Haven. People would come to him when they were hurt, when they were sick, when they were dying. He would do everything he could to help them. Patch them up, give them medicine, ease their pain, send them on their way with hope. One day, about 3 months after I arrived in Pine Haven, a family came to his clinic. Mother, father, 2 young kids. The mother had been bitten. Not badly, just a small bite on her forearm. A shallow wound. She was pale, sweating, shaking, but still coherent, still talking. The husband was begging Dr. Porter to help her. The kids were crying, and they were terrified. They had already lost so much. They could not lose their mother, too. Dr. Porter examined her. The wound was clean. No signs of necrosis, no black veins spreading from the bite site. He asked her questions. She answered clearly. She seemed lucid, aware. He made a decision. He bandaged the wound, gave her antibiotics, gave her something for the fever, told the family to keep her hydrated and to come back immediately if her condition worsened. They thanked him. They left. They never came back. 2 days later, I was out on a scavenging run about 3 miles north of town when I found them. An abandoned house, door hanging open. I went inside to check for supplies. That is when I saw them. All of them dead, torn apart. The mother, the father, the 2 kids. Blood everywhere, body parts scattered across the living room floor. The mother had turned. She had killed her entire family before anyone realized what was happening. Maybe she turned in the middle of the night. Maybe she turned while they were eating breakfast. It did not matter. The result was the same. I went back to town and told Dr. Porter what I had found. He broke down, completely broke down. He sat on the floor of his clinic with his head in his hands and sobbed.
He kept saying, "I should have known.
I should have checked. I should have seen it." I asked him what he meant. That is when he told me about the eyes. About how the infection affects the eyes first. About how there is always a telltale cloudiness that appears within the first few hours after infection. He said he had noticed it in other patients before. He had seen the fog, but he had been too focused on trying to save them. Too hopeful, too desperate to believe that maybe, just maybe, they would be the exception. He said hope was a disease in this world, a virus more dangerous than the infection itself. After that day, Dr. Porter changed. He started checking eyes, every patient, every visitor, every person who walked through his door. If he saw the fog, even the faintest hint of it, he turned them away. He would not treat them. He would not let them inside. Some people got angry. Some people cursed him. Some people begged and pleaded and offered him everything they had, but he did not budge. He said he would not make the same mistake twice. He said he would not have more deaths on his conscience. Dr. Porter is dead now, killed by a group of raiders about 1.5 years ago. They broke into his clinic looking for medical supplies and drugs. He tried to stop them. They shot him. I found his body the next morning. I buried him behind the church where he had helped so many people. I carved his name into a piece of wood and stuck it in the ground. It is still there, but his lesson lives on. Check the eyes. Always check the eyes. I remember one time, about 4 years ago, I was out on a supply run about 15 miles east of Pine Haven. I was following an old highway, staying off the main road, moving through the forest parallel to the asphalt. That is when I saw him. A man sitting by the side of the road. He was holding his stomach. Blood was seeping through his fingers. He looked up at me as I approached. His face was pale. "Covered in sweat, please," he said. His voice was weak. "Help me." "I'm hurt," I stopped. I raised my rifle. I looked at his eyes. They were clear, normal, human, no fog, no cloudiness. Just fear and pain. I lowered my weapon. I approached cautiously. I knelt down beside him and asked what happened. He told me he had been traveling with a group. They were ambushed by infected about an hour ago. He got separated. One of them got him. Clawed his stomach open. He managed to fight it off and run, but he was losing blood fast. He said he had been walking for miles trying to find help. Trying to find anyone. I checked his wound. It was bad, deep. The skin was torn open. I could see muscle underneath. But it was survivable if we could get him back to Pine Haven. If we could get him to Dr. Porter. If we moved quickly. I helped him to his feet. He was heavy, weak. I let him lean on me and we started walking, slow, steady. He was breathing hard, struggling, but he was moving. About an hour into the walk, I noticed he was stumbling more. His breathing was becoming irregular, shallow. I stopped. I looked at him. His face was gray. His lips were blue. I checked his eyes again. There it was. The faintest hint of fog, just a thin layer, creeping in from the edges of his irises, almost invisible. But it was there. I stepped back. I raised my rifle. I pointed it at his head. He realized what I was doing. His eyes widened. "No," he said. "No, please. I am fine. I am okay. Just a little tired. Please do not do this." But his eyes were not lying. The fog was spreading. I could see it now, clearer, growing. "I'm sorry," I said. My voice was steady, calm. I had done this before. He tried to run. He made it about 3 steps before his legs gave out. He collapsed onto the ground. He was crying, begging. "Please, please, I do not want to die. I have a family. I have kids, please." I pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the forest. He stopped moving. I stood there for a long time, just staring at his body, thinking about his family, his kids, wondering if they were still alive, wondering if they would ever know what happened to him. Probably not. Probably they were already dead too. I buried him as best I could. Shallow grave. Covered him with rocks and leaves. Marked the spot with a stick. Then I kept walking. That is the reality of this world. You do not get to save everyone. You do not get happy endings. You get choices. Hard choices. Impossible choices. And if you hesitate, if you let emotion cloud your judgment, you die. Or worse, you become one of them. Check the eyes, always, every time. No exceptions. If the eyes are clear, they are still human. Give them a chance. Help them if you can. But if the eyes are fogged, if you see that cloudiness creeping in, they are infected. They are already dead. You are just finishing the job. It is not murder. It is mercy. Rule number 3. Never travel alone after dark. Darkness changes everything. During the day, the infected are sluggish, slow, predictable. They wander aimlessly through the ruins, drawn to sound and movement, but they are not aggressive hunters. They are opportunistic scavengers. If you are quiet, if you are careful, you can avoid them. You can slip past them. You can even walk right through a group of them if you move slowly enough and do not make noise. I have done it dozens of times, but at night they come alive. I do not know why. Maybe it is the temperature. Maybe cooler air sharpens their senses. Maybe it is instinct. Maybe the infection affects their nervous system differently in the dark. Some people think they are photosensitive. That bright light hurts them or disorients them. I do not know if that is true. All I know is that after the sun goes down, the infected become hunters, predators. Their hearing sharpens. Their sense of smell intensifies. They move faster. They coordinate better. They work together like a pack. And they do not stop until they find food. I have seen it. I have watched from a distance as packs of infected move through the night like wolves, silent, organized, deadly. They communicate with each other somehow. Not with words, with sounds. Low growls, clicking noises from deep in their throats. It is unsettling, unnatural, like they are evolving, adapting. If you are alone after dark, you are a target. A slow, vulnerable, easy target. A meal waiting to be eaten. That is why I never travel solo at night. Ever. If I am out on a job and the sun starts to set, I find a partner. I find shelter. I wait until dawn. I do not care how close I am to my destination. I do not care how safe the road looks. I stop, because the night belongs to them, not to us. And if you forget that, you die. I travel with a man named Garrett sometimes. He is a scavenger like me. Mid-40s, quiet, efficient, does not talk much, does not ask stupid questions. We have an understanding. If we are out together and the sun starts to go down, we find a safe place and we hunker down until morning. No arguments, no debates. We just do it. Because we have both seen what happens to people who try to travel alone at night. One time, about 2 years ago, Garrett and I were returning from a long-range supply run. We had been gone for almost a week, searching for a rumored cache of weapons and ammunition in an old National Guard armory about 60 miles north of Pine Haven. The place had been looted years ago, but we figured there might be something left, something the others had missed. We were right. We found a crate of rifle ammunition hidden in a false panel in the floor. Not a huge haul, but enough to make the trip worthwhile. We loaded up our packs and started the long walk home. We were making good time. The weather was clear. The roads were empty. We figured we could make it back to Pine Haven before nightfall if we pushed hard. We were about 5 miles from town when Garrett's knee gave out. Old injury, from before the outbreak. Car accident back in 2008. Shattered his kneecap. Doctors put it back together with pins and screws, but it never healed right. It flares up sometimes. Usually at the worst possible moments, he went down hard. I heard him grunt and looked back to see him on the ground, clutching his leg. I ran back to him, helped him up. He tried to walk, but he could barely put weight on it. We were not going to make it. The sun was already touching the horizon. We had maybe 30 minutes of daylight left. I looked around. We were in open farmland. Fields on both sides of the road. No buildings nearby, no shelter. Just flat, empty land stretching in every direction. Then I saw it, about half a mile off the road. An old grain silo, tall, metal, standing alone in the middle of an overgrown field. It was our only option. We made it to the silo just as the last light faded from the sky. I helped Garrett up the ladder to the top platform. It was slow going. Every rung was agony for him, but he did not complain. He just gritted his teeth and climbed. When we reached the top, I pulled the ladder up behind us and secured it. Then we sat down and waited. The platform was small, maybe 6 feet across, open to the air, cold wind blowing through, but it was elevated, safe, unreachable. That was all that mattered. About an hour after full dark, we heard them. Footsteps. Dozens of them. Moving through the field below us. I looked over the edge carefully. There must have been 30 of them. Maybe more. All moving together in the same direction, like they had a purpose, a destination. One of them stopped directly below the silo. It stood there perfectly still, staring up at us. I could see its eyes in the moonlight, white, empty, dead. It tilted its head slowly, like it was listening, or thinking. Then it made a sound, a low, wet clicking noise that seemed to come from deep inside its chest. I froze. Garrett stopped breathing. We both just sat there perfectly still, hoping it would lose interest and move on. But then the others stopped. All of them. They turned and looked at the silo, at us, and for a moment I thought we were done. I thought they would find a way up, that they would figure it out somehow. Then one of them made a different sound, a sharp piercing hiss, and just like that they all turned and kept moving, like they had received a command, like someone or something had told them to keep going. We stayed on that platform until dawn. Neither of us slept. We just sat there, backs against the cold metal, listening to the sounds of the infected moving through the darkness below us. By the time the sun came up, they were gone, vanished like ghosts. We climbed down, and Garrett limped the rest of the way back to Pine Haven, leaning on my shoulder. That night taught me something crucial. The infected are not mindless. Not anymore. Maybe they were in the beginning. Maybe the first wave was just rabid corpses with no thought beyond feeding. But now they are organized. They communicate. They hunt in packs. And they are getting smarter. That is why you never travel alone after dark. Because you need someone watching your back. Someone who can keep watch while you rest. Someone who can pull you up when you fall. Someone who can fight beside you when the infected come. One person alone in the darkness is prey. 2 people together have a chance. I have lost count of how many bodies I have found over the years. Travelers who thought they could make it through the night alone. I find them in the morning, torn apart on the side of the road. Sometimes they are still holding weapons. Sometimes their packs are still full of supplies. It does not matter. They were alone. They were vulnerable. and the night took them. There was a young man named Connor, early 20s, cocky, thought he was invincible. He had survived almost a year on his own, made it from Seattle all the way to Montana by himself. He was proud of that. He bragged about it, told everyone who would listen that he did not need anyone else, that traveling with others just slowed you down, made you weak. I warned him, told him about the rule, told him what happens to people who travel alone after dark. He laughed at me, called me paranoid, said I was getting soft in my old age. 2 weeks later, I found him, about 8 miles south of Pine Haven. His body was scattered across 100 yards of highway. The infected had torn him apart so badly, I could only identify him by the tattoo on his forearm, a compass rose. He had told me once that it represented his independence, his ability to navigate the world alone. I buried what I could find of him, added his name to the list of people I have failed to save with my warnings. The list gets longer every year. Let me be clear about something. This rule is not just about having backup in a fight. It is about psychology, about mental survival. The darkness does something to your mind when you are alone. It plays tricks on you, makes you see things that are not there, makes you hear sounds that do not exist. Your imagination becomes your worst enemy. You start second-guessing every decision. Every shadow becomes a threat. Every sound becomes a zombie closing in for the kill. But when you have someone with you, it is different. You can talk, share the burden, keep each other grounded, keep each other sane. I have had conversations with Garrett during night watches that kept me from losing my mind. Simple conversations about the old world, about food we miss, about people we lost, about dreams we used to have. Nothing profound, nothing life-changing, just human connection. And in this world, that is more valuable than gold. If you cannot find a partner for night travel, do not travel. Wait, find shelter, survive until morning, because the darkness will kill you. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow night, but eventually, if you keep pushing your luck, if you keep thinking you are the exception, the night will take you, and there will be nothing left but scattered bones and empty regrets. Before I move on to the final rule, I want to say something to those of you who are listening, to those of you who are out there right now, alone, scared, wondering if you will see tomorrow. You are not alone. Not really. There are others like you, survivors, fighters, people who refuse to give up. Find them, build alliances, create communities, because we are stronger together than we ever could be apart. That is not weakness, that is survival. Now let me tell you about the fourth and final rule, the rule that has saved my life more times than all the others combined. This is the hardest rule, the one that costs you your humanity piece by piece, the one that turns you into something cold and calculating, the one that makes you question who you are and whether survival is worth losing yourself. But it is also the rule that keeps you breathing. Your heart will lie to you. Your heart will see a scared child and want to help. Your heart will see a crying woman and want to comfort her. Your heart will see an injured man and want to save him. Your heart will remember what it was like to be human, to be kind, to be compassionate, to be good. Your heart will get you killed. Your gut knows better. Your gut is the primitive part of your brain that has kept humans alive for millions of years. The part that senses danger before you consciously recognize it. The part that screams at you to run when something feels wrong, even if you cannot explain why. The part that tells you when someone is lying. When a situation is a trap. When kindness is a luxury you cannot afford. Listen to your gut. Always. I learned this rule from a woman named Sarah. She was a teacher before the outbreak. 3rd grade. She taught children how to read and write and do arithmetic. She was kind, patient. She believed in the goodness of people. She believed that even in this hellish world, we had to hold on to our humanity, that we had to help each other, that we had to be better than the monsters. I met her about 4 years ago. She was part of a small group of survivors camped outside Pine Haven. They were traders, traveling merchants who moved from settlement to settlement, bartering goods and information. Sarah was their medic. She patched people up, made sure everyone stayed healthy. She was good at it. We became friends. She would come into town every few months when her group passed through. We would share meals, trade stories, talk about the old world. She reminded me that there was more to life than just surviving, that there was still beauty in small moments, still hope in human connection. One winter, her group was ambushed by raiders about 30 miles west of Pine Haven. Most of them were killed. Sarah managed to escape. She showed up at my door in the middle of the night, bleeding, crying, traumatized. I took her in, gave her shelter, food, safety. She stayed with me for 3 months while she recovered. During that time, she told me about a man named Vincent. He had been part of her trading group. He was charming, handsome, good with words. He always knew what to say to make people feel safe, to make them trust him. Sarah fell for him hard. They became close. She thought maybe, just maybe, she could have something resembling love in this dead world. Then one night, Vincent disappeared, took half their supplies with him, left in the middle of a night watch shift, just vanished. 2 days later, the raiders attacked, and Sarah realized the truth. Vincent had set them up. He had been feeding information to the raiders the whole time, telling them where the group would be, what they were carrying, how many people they had, how well they were armed. He had betrayed them for a cut of the loot. Sarah never forgave herself. She said she had seen signs, small things, inconsistencies in his stories, times when he was gone longer than he should have been, moments when his eyes did not match his words. But she ignored them, because her heart wanted to believe he was good, because her heart wanted love to be possible, because her heart was tired of being alone. Her gut had been screaming at her the whole time, but she did not listen. After she told me that story, something changed in her. The kindness faded. The warmth disappeared. She became harder, colder, more suspicious. She started checking every person she met for signs of deception, started questioning every act of kindness, started assuming the worst in people until they proved otherwise. She left Pine Haven 6 months later, said she was going north, looking for a rumored settlement in Canada where people were supposedly rebuilding civilization. I have not seen her since. I do not know if she made it. I do not know if she is still alive. But I remember what she told me the night before she left. Trust your gut, Soap. Your heart will want to see the best in people, but your gut will keep you alive. I have lived by that rule ever since. There was a time about 2 years ago when a group of survivors showed up at the gates of Pine Haven. 15 people. Men, women, a few kids. They said they had been traveling for months. Said their settlement had been overrun. Said they were looking for a place to start over. They seemed genuine, desperate, afraid. The council in Pine Haven wanted to take them in. We had room. We had resources. And we had not had new people in almost a year. Fresh hands to help with farming, with building, with defense. It seemed like a good opportunity, but something felt wrong to me. I could not explain it. There was nothing obviously suspicious about them. They told consistent stories. They had the right gear, the right injuries, the right level of exhaustion you would expect from people who had been traveling for months. But my gut was screaming. Something was off. I told the council I did not trust them, that we should make them camp outside the walls for a few weeks, observe them, make sure they were who they said they were. The council disagreed, said I was being paranoid, said we could not turn away people in need, that it went against everything we stood for. I was outvoted. They let the group in, gave them food, shelter, made them feel welcome. Everything seemed fine for the first 3 days. They integrated well, helped with chores, were polite and grateful. I started to think maybe I had been wrong. Maybe I was getting too suspicious, too cynical. Then on the 4th night, they made their move. They had weapons hidden in their packs, guns, knives, homemade explosives. While most of Pine Haven slept, they attacked, killed the night guards, started fires, began looting the supply warehouse. I woke up to gunfire and screaming. I grabbed my rifle and ran outside. The town was chaos, buildings burning, people running. The raiders were organized, efficient. They knew exactly what they were doing. This was not their first time. Garrett and I managed to rally a defense. We fought back hard. It was brutal. Close quarters fighting in the dark. I killed 3 of them myself. Garrett killed 2 more. Others died in the fires or were shot by our people. By dawn, it was over. 12 of the 15 raiders were dead. The other 3 had escaped with a truck full of our supplies. 4 of our people were dead. 7 more were injured. A third of the town was burned to the ground. The council never questioned my instincts again. That is what I mean when I say trust your gut. It is not about being cruel or heartless. It is about survival. It is about recognizing that in this world, deception is a tool, a weapon, and people will use it against you without hesitation. Your heart wants to believe in the goodness of humanity. Your gut knows better. Now, I am not saying you should trust no one. I am not saying you should become a monster. I am saying you need to be smart. You need to be cautious. You need to verify before you trust. You need to watch for the signs, the inconsistencies, the little details that do not add up. When someone approaches you asking for help, ask yourself why. Why here? Why now? Why me? What is their story? Does it make sense? Are they making eye contact? Are their hands visible? Are they alone or are others nearby? What are they carrying? What are they wearing? How did they survive this long? Where did they come from? Where are they going? Ask questions. Lots of questions. People who are genuinely in need will answer. People who are trying to deceive you will get defensive. Will try to make you feel guilty for questioning them. Will try to manipulate your emotions. Do not fall for it. I have a simple test I use. When I meet someone new, I ask them about their most traumatic experience since the outbreak. I ask them to describe it in detail. The sights, the sounds, the smells, the emotions. Real survivors can tell you. They can paint the picture because they lived it. It is burned into their memory. Con artists struggle. They make things up. They contradict themselves. They keep the details vague. If someone cannot tell you their trauma story with crystal clarity, they are lying. And if they are lying about that, they are lying about everything. I know this makes me sound cold, cynical, maybe even cruel, but I am alive. I have been alive for 6 years in a world where most people do not make it 6 months. I have kept the people I care about alive. I have built something resembling safety in Pine Haven. Not because I am lucky, not because I am stronger or smarter than anyone else, but because I listen to my gut. Your heart will tell you to take risks, to give second chances, to believe in redemption. Your gut will tell you to walk away, to say no, to put your survival first. Listen to your gut. So there you have it. 4 rules. 4 simple lessons written in blood and pain and loss. Lessons I learned by watching good people die, by making mistakes, by surviving when I should not have. Let me say them again one more time so they sink in. Rule number 1, never sleep on the ground floor. Height equals safety, always find elevation, always make yourself unreachable. Rule number 2, check the eyes before you shoot. The fog tells you everything you need to know. Clear eyes mean human. Clouded eyes mean infected. No exceptions. Rule number 3, never travel alone after dark. The night belongs to them. Find a partner or find shelter. Do not be a hero. Rule number 4, trust your gut, not your heart. Your heart will lie to you. Your gut will keep you alive. Listen to it. These rules will not make you invincible. They will not guarantee you see tomorrow, but they will give you a fighting chance. And in this world, a fighting chance is the best any of us can hope for. I am still here, still surviving, still hunting the dead for money because someone has to, because supplies do not gather themselves, because communities like Pine Haven need people willing to walk into the ruins and come back with what we need to survive another day. It is not a glamorous life. It is not a happy life. Most days I wake up wondering why I bother, why I do not just walk into the forest and disappear. Let the world have itself. Let the dead inherit the earth. But then I remember the faces of the people in Pine Haven, the children who are growing up in this hell but still manage to laugh and play, the families who are trying to build something normal in the ruins, the traders who risk their lives to connect isolated communities, the farmers who coax food from poisoned soil, the doctors who heal without proper medicine, the teachers who educate without books. They remind me that humanity is still here, still fighting, still refusing to lie down and die. And as long as they are fighting, I will keep fighting too. I do not know how long I have left. Maybe another year, maybe another day. The odds are not in my favor. Every time I walk out of Pine Haven, there is a chance I do not come back. Every job could be my last. Every encounter could end with me joining the ranks of the walking dead. But until that day comes, I will follow my rules. I will survive. I will keep hunting. And I will keep sharing what I have learned with anyone willing to listen. Because maybe, just maybe, my story will save someone. Maybe someone out there is listening to this right now, scared and alone, wondering how they are going to make it through another night. Maybe they will remember these rules. Maybe they will survive because of them. Maybe they will pass them on to someone else, and if that happens, if even one person lives because they heard this, then it was worth it. All of it, the pain, the loss, the trauma, the nightmares, worth it. My name is Soap. I am 35 years old. I kill the dead for money, and I am still here. If you are listening to this, if you are out there somewhere surviving, then you are still here too. Keep fighting, keep adapting, keep surviving. Follow the rules, trust yourself, and maybe, just maybe, we will both see another sunrise. Stay alive out there. And if you ever find yourself in Pine Haven, Montana, look me up. I will buy you a drink. We will share stories. And I will teach you everything else I know about surviving in this dead world. Until then, watch your back, check your corners, and never ever forget the rules. This is Soap signing off. If this story helped you, hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with anyone who needs to hear it. In a world like ours, information is survival. And survival is all we have left.